I have been very, very eagerly anticipating this chat with you because we're going to speak about Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. You woke up to watch it, didn't you?
Did. Went down the stairs, switched it on. I thought, probably going to be a Devin Haney masterclass given everything that's happened, but I've got a sneaky feeling. I also only bet on Ryan because that was all the value. So I had like rounds 1 to 3. I think I put like rounds 4 to 6 and 7 to 9. But in my head I thought he carries his power late, so 7 to 9 is actually quite a good bet here.
Yeah.
And when in round 7 it was collapsing, I was like, I've got it. The money's coming. And that referee, I'm screaming, going, "Fucking get off him! Leave him!" That was fucking so annoying.
Mate, do you know what? That's mad, yeah, that you pointed that out, because we're going to get on to obviously the unfair advantage and the fallout of obviously the, missing weight and everything that went with it. But one thing is, there's a lot of people at the moment that are feeling very, they're feeling like Devin Haney was hard done by, obviously, because Ryan Garcia pulled the wool, it seems, over a lot of our eyes, and as well, he missed the weight. But a lot of people could watch the way the actual fight unfolded, look at the way that the referee conducted himself, and in turn, the way he instructed the two fighters, and could argue that Ryan Garcia in the fight was hard done by, because there's not many referees that would allow the amount of holding. We saw Devin Haney in those later rounds. He was out on his feet, and he was out on his feet for about 2 or 3 rounds.
You know what? I know Ryan was also play with the rules, that like shoulder roll style, turning his back, not really legal. But I felt like Haney broke the rules a hell of a lot more and did it constantly. Not only was the referee not getting him properly, but he could have taken points. Like he could have taken point a lot of rounds. So I definitely feel like Haney was holding on for dear life, and a lot of people are sitting there going, Haney had the wool pulled over his eyes, was it fair with the weight thing? And, Ryan wasn't being honest in the run up the weight. If that hadn't have been the way it was, the fight could have been different. If you're a Haney fan, I understand the logic. These boys shared the ring 6 times prior to this fight. I went to sleep. I went to sleep on the left hook. How the fuck could you? You literally have spent a lot of time with this guy, a lot of time in the ring with him. So I just don't think that any excuses is good enough. Even if Ryan had have lost that fight because he didn't train properly or whatever, as a fan of him, I wouldn't have accepted that as an excuse. Like, it's on you when you're in there, mate. It's a 1v1 sport.
I think the perception we have when we look at the two of them is Ryan Garcia was the wild card. Devin Haney is the guy that we associate with being the ultimate professional. He's the guy that has mixed in really, really good class consistently for the last probably 4 years or so, maybe even longer. And he's the guy that we say, right, he will cross the T's, dot the I's. And part of having that responsibility is the fact that, if Ryan Garcia is looking like he's a bit of a loose cannon, if he's looking like mentally he's not all there, it's up to Devin Haney and his team to be constantly saying, right, this could well be the case, but he could also be pulling the wool over your eyes here. And that's why we need to train like we are getting in there with a prime Ryan Garcia, with the best mentally framed Ryan Garcia possible. And the way that it's transpired after that, they've sort of alluded to the fact that maybe they weren't, and maybe they did have the wool pulled over their eyes. So I completely agree with you. I think that the excuses can't be there once that happens. When we're going on about the mental state, or what appears to now be being claimed is the lack of, mental breakdown, what do we think? Ryan Garcia, was he going through a mental breakdown, or was it all an act?
I think some of the things that he is now playing off as all an act were very real. So all of this stuff about Bohemian Grove and the kids and the trafficking and all of that he's very into, I think he's very, very into that. I think him claiming that he owns all this footage and, the powers that be and all of that, I think he has real beliefs of conspiracy theories. Can I just say,
if you're not into it, bit fucking sick. Like, I'll bring them into it just to prepare for this fight, but I'm not really bothered about all that. Do you know what I mean?
Even after the fight, he's like, I fight for the kids and da-da-da. And I'm like, well, he's still maintaining that.
Yeah.
And that was very much part of the reason, speaking from experience, like my dad's had a fucking full-blown breakdown or fucking 4 or 5. When people are going through a breakdown, they usually start talking about things such as the Matrix, such as conspiracy theories. They get drawn into that. So when he's coming out with that helped buy us into, okay, we think that there's something wrong here. And I think he then lent into it as well. And I think none of this was a formulated plan. He just like kind of played with it. All right, I'll do a bit of, but then some of it is really him. And then in retrospect, he kind of rewrote history and went, got yes. Do you know what I mean? And you know, it's not really, fabricating mental health problems isn't something I would say is a good thing to do. So I understand that it was entertaining and I did really enjoy it, but equally, I don't think that it was all a big plan.
No, I think there was a bit of both, personally. I think that Ryan Garcia was able to see from the interaction and how the clips and how the interviews and all the media around the fight was going down, he was able to see, right, this is getting a real strong response here. And maybe for that reason, I'm going to play on it more. But there's certain little
Kanye West is the same before an album drops.
Yeah.
Same exact thing.
Yeah.
Is he bipolar? Yeah, he is. He's fucking crazy. But is he also semi-aware of how that impacts people being interested in him? Yeah. So he plays to his advantage.
Because I do sort of think as well, like, when you are just off your nut and you're in that sort of bad, dark place that a lot of us were thinking Ryan Garcia was in, it's hard to be in that place. I'm not saying impossible, but it's hard to be in that place and to still be witty in some circumstances, to still produce moments that you know are going to, you know, like there was that bit of him, he's got the ring behind him and he goes, he's doing the impression of Devin Haney and he goes, oh, he's talking about Diddy again. And I was like, that's just brilliant. But also the bit you sent me, do you remember the bit you WhatsApped me when all of a sudden he goes into movie mode and he's pretending to be Bill Haney, isn't it? Saying he's not waking up.
It's Devin.
Yeah.
He's not waking up. And it was that was the bit where I was like, I always knew Ryan Garcia had star quality. But when those moments were coming out on the build-up, I'm like, we're on the level of like a born entertainer here, where the things you're doing, and I know they're not for everyone, and I know it's not always landing, but like it really reminded me of Conor McGregor's come up, where everything he said was just on fire, hilarious. People couldn't stop talking about him, and there was some certain clues that it was all not all of an act, but there was some of it was an act where he, you know, the bit where he's sitting there going, "They've taken my phone, guys. They've taken my money," and I'm like, "You're tweeting this out of your account," like. So I knew that was bullshit, but. Man, look, what a ride. And I think, Paul, we talked about before we came on, you mentioned, you know, some of this may have been to alleviate the pressure.
Yep.
You know, if you don't have a great performance, there's excuses there.
Well, that's it, because if you don't have a great performance, but you don't get blown away and you win, you know, you pick up rounds here and there, you maybe have a moment like he did in that first round where he wobbles Devin Haney, everyone's then going to go, well, if that's Ryan Garcia going through a breakdown, imagine what... So then PR-wise, you can go, right, let's say, hypothetically, you lose the fight. You can go, right, take on a new trainer, possibly. I mean, he's just took one on in Derek James, but you take on a new trainer, you change environments, change your setup, and then you get people buying back into it and going, right, now he can compete.
Do you know who else used to do that? John Jones. Before a fight, he told Joe Rogan he would always go out and get blasted. A week before, he would always get absolutely shit-faced. And he'd say, I do this because if I lose, I've got an excuse. I've got reasons. I've got things I can come out with, go, oh, well, I'll train harder next time and I won't do. So maybe he was giving himself a little bit of slack for later.
I think as well as that, you know, like Ryan Garcia is a fairly decorated amateur, and he obviously had a lot of push behind him when he first turned pro. But as much as you can have that profile, the first significant massive payday he would have been the Tank fight. So then when you look at someone earning that amount of money that they've probably not earned before, all of a sudden, and then going and progressing with their career, I do think that does change things. It is hard
It's changed them for sure.
100%.
He keeps mentioning it on loads of interviews about money. Talking a lot about money. And I know that the women are, I mean, he's been photographed with 2 different women the last week. Fair play, like.
You've got to enjoy yourself.
No, mate.
You've got to enjoy yourself.
Put your feet up, lad.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? Enjoy it.
I've not been photographed with anyone since my Misfits. Maybe I need to start changing.
Yeah, Misfits different colour.
Listen, whether he was mental or not, if we are to believe what he's saying now, he said, the only thing I didn't like about it is I did have a drink because I do like to have a drink. If Ryan Garcia is to push on now, does he need to nip even that in the bud, or do you think that...
I think you're best placed to discuss this, mate, because in a month leading up to a fight, I've seen you come in the studio, regimented diet, right? This is Misfits level, but you're taking it very seriously, and you don't want to, even when I've looked at fighters who I thought you're going to smoke this guy, you've still put yourself through everything so that no stone was unturned. If you had allowed yourself a beer with me when I'm drinking and you're not, or whatever, on those weekends, how would that have impacted you? Would it made a difference? I think the weight might have been a difference. But
the weight, very possibly. But do you know what? If I'm being completely honest, it all depends on the personality type, I think. Because for me, the only thing that's really doing, right? Say we had a live show. We did on the Pain Game. We did a watch along for the Joshua Ngannou fight, and that night I think it was 3-4 weeks out from when I was flying to America. And I said, no, I'm not going to have a drink. I'm not going to have a drink. Do I think that if I had have had a drink that night, my fight with Baby Holt would have gone any different? No. Do I think my prep would have gone any different? No. Do I think it would have been detrimental to me? No. But this is where personality and mentality...
What about if you kept drinking, though?
Yeah, because it seems like... Then it would have done.
It seems like... This is the thing. It seems like he was drinking fairly regularly, and I don't think he was getting fucking wasted, but I just think he's a casual social drinker who just likes to get a little bit tipsy or whatever.
It depends whether you're an all or nothing. Yeah, if you're an all or nothing person, you can't do it at all, I don't think. And personally, my thing for me would be, it's nothing to do with whether I think it's going to affect the performance or not, but up here, I know if something happens in that fight and I lose, if for whatever reason I don't perform, as much as I can bring every other factor under the sun into it, I am always going to be harsh on myself up here and go, we shouldn't have been having that drink. You shouldn't have had that little night of enjoyment, relaxing when you were in preparation for a fight.
It could have been better.
Exactly. So for me personally, it wouldn't work. But if Ryan Garcia is someone that, can let bygones be bygones with that, I don't think it'd affect him all that much. What we do need to speak about is the weight. Because obviously he came in 3.2 pounds over the fight weight, came under a lot of criticism. I would say rightly so. I'd definitely say rightly so. He came under that criticism. Do you think it made a massive, massive difference in the fight, that 3.2 pounds?
If Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney were further apart naturally in weight, that could have had a major impact. So let's say if Ryan Garcia was fighting Tank, who's a naturally smaller fighter, and then he's got a huge unfair advantage because then he can balloon up to 160, whereas Tank's sitting naturally around 140, 145. You're then a stone heavier. In my head, Devin Haney may have been, from what we've heard, even heavier than Ryan. It didn't look that way, but in the ring, because apparently in the last fight before this, Devin, when he got to the ring, was 165.
Yep.
Now, that's a massive amount of weight to put on for a 140-pound fighter in a day. But I believe it, because he always does look much bigger than his opponent. So I think that what it could have affected is just Devin, him being as energetic as Ryan. I think, but this is the thing is, Ryan was the one who had to take the rounds off. Ryan was the one who was struggling with the stamina. Do you know why? Because he didn't do enough fucking cardio and he wasn't taking shit seriously in training. The fact that that was clear during the fight and he still just pieced them up. For me, if we get Ryan Garcia to 140 this time and they hit it in a rematch, but Ryan actually does the cardio, Ryan actually lives strictly, I still think a similar result happens because the thing that I felt in the fight was, can Devin outbox Ryan for a good few rounds? Absolutely he can. But can he not get hit by Ryan for 12 rounds? No. And when he does get hit, what happens? He gets fucking hurt. And I just personally don't think that Devin's chin is ever going to be able to withstand, without the head guards from the amateur days, a fucking punch from Ryan, personally. What do you think?
I don't think that the weight being missed was the sole reason why Ryan Garcia won this fight. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had 3 wins to his name in the amateurs. Obviously, they had 3 apiece. But what I do think is the weight would have definitely helped Ryan Garcia be able to impose himself on Devin Haney. Now, when it comes to imposing himself, everyone thinks offensively. I actually think defensively. It helps you to impose yourself because the shots that maybe your resistance wouldn't hold up to as much, had you have drained yourself down a little bit more, you're just able to take them. The other thing as well is Ryan Garcia did not wake up 3.2 pounds over and then go, right, I'm not even going to lose it. He would have already took off 10, maybe 15 pounds or something and then been 3 and a bit pounds over. So I don't think that the people online that will go, I don't know why Ryan Garcia didn't just lose the weight. You could have took that off. he would have been 3.2 pounds over after already taking off a lot of weight. What I do think is he would have been able to stand in front of Devin Haney a lot more than he was able to. And you saw that pretty much, right? And I watched the fight back again for a second time last night. Pretty much every single time Ryan Garcia decided to push forward and to put it on Devin Haney, he was having success, wasn't he? And that's why I always look back to the Tyson Fury first fight against Deontay Wilder. When Tyson Fury gets dropped, he gets back up off the canvas in the 12th round and he pushes forward against Wilder and the penny drops and he realises, oh, I've been fighting this whole fight thinking he's sharp, he could catch me, his power. But actually what I've realised is all of that becomes a lesser factor when I just push forward against him. And I think that if they were to rematch after this, knowing now what he knows, Ryan Garcia might just get the bit between his teeth a little bit more, take training camp a little bit more serious, come in a little bit fitter, and maybe just adjust his game plan to go, do you know what? I'm going to stick it on you from the first bell. And I think that over 4 or 5 rounds, while I've still got the fitness, I can break you down.
Do you know what I compared it to? I did a video earlier, Zhang Joyce 2. Like, as much as Zhang and Joyce respected each other in the first fight, once you know you can't take this, the second fight will go even worse. And whether or not Ryan hits weight or whatever the fuck, I just think it's a bad matchup because Devin Haney is a defensive genius, generally speaking, or he has been in previous fights. That's the way it looked. I think he fought a wrong fight against Ryan, but even still, like Ryan's speed is too quick for those defensive skills. Like he just, you're not going to be able to avoid getting hit by him at some point because, and at the age Ryan is, that's not going anywhere. He's 25 years old. So yeah, I agree with you, mate.
You know what Ryan did do as well, right? And I think this was the first knockdown because I keep thinking back to it and I'm thinking there was a knockdown in the first round. There wasn't. It was just he wobbled him badly. I think it was the first knockdown. Might have been the second. What Ryan did do well is he showed that sometimes it doesn't fucking have to even look pretty. Do you know what I mean? Like there's that bit where Devin Haney goes back to the corner and Ryan Garcia turns his hips, completely squares himself up, but just chases him.
That's it.
And do you know what? We spoke about the sparring footage that was released and I'm not saying we rubbished it, but definitely from my own point of view, I thought it's a long time ago. It wasn't even you that did that.
You mean the sparring footage about Tank?
With Tank, sorry.
Devin,
yeah. I was thinking it was a long time ago. It wasn't even you that did that. And just because Tank can do that to someone stylistically, not only just in your stance you fight out of, stylistically you're so different. Actually, I think there was relevance to that sparring footage because I think you saw that when you stick it on Devin Haney, and my God, it's easy to say when you stick it on him, you've got to be able to stick it on him. But if you can get yourself into that position, he doesn't react well to that, I don't find.
And let's be real, he hasn't been fighting. When you look through his resume, as good as it looked beforehand, you kind of realise now, there was a weakness there, but no one was in front of you who could expose that. Lomachenko almost did with the speed. You struggle with that speed, but Ryan Garcia's speed's another level.
Linares did, actually. Wobbled him bad in that fight, but obviously it was right at the end of the round. He recouped and actually readjusted in that one, whereas this one he stayed here.
Do you know what? He reminds me a bit of like a George St. Pierre type fighter in that he's like a great athlete. And George was like a real systematic fighter who knew what to do, and everything was really sportsman-like. It wasn't. He didn't have that aggression and that I want to hurt you. And when it was time to dog it out, he didn't. I'm not criticizing the guy, but like I see these traits in Ryan Garcia where I'm like, you're a great athlete. You're very clever. You know how to hold on. You know how to limit your opponent's ability to hurt you. You're a defensive safety first fighter. But sometimes fights do, as you're well aware, mate, turn into scraps, and I feel like we've kind of found out just how you beat this guy now. And I think if they get more people in front of him who've got heavy hands, they're going to take the fight to him in a totally different way than before. And I feel like we've seen too much of a weakness there for that not to be exposed more often in the future. Like
one more key thing I think was a bit of a masterstroke was Ryan Garcia openly in front of the public negotiating the fine for missing weight, because I think that did a few things right. it would have thrown Devin Haney off because, let's be honest, I don't care whether you're earning 10 million, 20 million. No one wants to lose, best part of $2 million if that fine is legit in terms of 500 grand or $500,000 per pound you're over. So no one wants to lose that. So I think it would have thrown Devin Haney off the scent that potentially Ryan Garcia was going to come in heavier. But what you've then done is when you do come in heavier, you put the other man, the opponent, in this case Devin Haney, in a real hard position. Because if Devin Haney then distances himself from it and says, hold on, he's coming three and a bit pounds over, everyone, including me at home, goes, well, you've already negotiated that. That's 1.5 million off his purse. That's fine. Do you know what I mean? So I think that when that does happen, I think that then it forces Devin Haney to then stand by what he had negotiated in terms of the fine and the punishment for coming in overweight and going through.
Devin seemed happy with that, though. Devin tweeted out, Ryan has honoured the bet. So, and I think, honestly, I think he thought this guy's so whacked out of his mind. I'm going to get 1.5 million on top of what I was supposed to get to beat the crap out of him. Brilliant. I've won. He's like, he thought, you sucker, I've got you to give me even more money because I'm going to beat the shit out of you regardless. That's why he tweeted it out, in my opinion. He thought, I'm winning here. And the reality is, I think for Ryan, he claimed he made around 50 million for this fight, which if you think about, Devin tweeted out 35 million he made. And Ryan put like 2 million on himself to win, to bet 12 million back or whatever, which was meant, like, I remember I loaded up my betting app being like, Ryan Garcia has 5-1 to win. I couldn't, in my head, like, as much as I'd leant towards Devin Haney, I'm like, the gap between these two, you'd think Ryan was a fucking pub fighter. This is mental. You got better odds for Rocky Balboa versus Apollo Creed, man. Like, we know this guy can crack. And, like, when he fought Luke Campbell, that's when I was like, okay, like, Lomachenko could not get Luke Campbell out of there. You killed him with that body shot. So the danger's there. So, yeah. What are you thinking now about Ryan Garcia's career then? Looking, like, how do you view him as a fighter in terms of his ability? Because beforehand, I feel like we overrated Devin Haney. Everyone. Personally, I did. I had Devin Haney as a top pound-for-pound fighter. Watching the way he was dismantled with it wasn't loads of skill. It was just brute force, athleticism that got him out of there. I think we've had to rewrite things and go, all right, is Ryan better than we thought? Yeah. Devin Haney, a bit worse than we thought, if we're being honest.
Do I think that Ryan Garcia has a fighting chance of beating pretty much anyone that he could get in a ring with? Yes, I do.
Yeah, he's good, isn't he?
Do I put him as a top pound-for-pound fighter? I don't, off the back of that. I think that we saw a lot of shortcomings from both men, you know. Ryan Garcia, defensively, like, he's not that hard to hit, Ryan Garcia. The way he was turning his back away from Devin Haney, listen, in another fight, he might not do that. But what some fighters, like Ryan Garcia, showed decent feet in the fight to get away. There was a lot of time when Ryan Garcia was actually on his bike, not being the aggressor.
That surprised me.
But yeah, but then actually when the distance was closed against Ryan Garcia, his defense left a little bit to the imagination still. He wasn't holding very well. He was turning away from things, you know. If
Do you know what it was all about? For me, energy management. I think holding on, and he wasn't doing anything that required energy. He was like, I'm just going to tuck up. Like, he didn't, because holding on, you know, you're still going to drain yourself in some way. His shortcomings are all to do with his lazy bastard mentality. Like, Derek has done a good job with him, I think, actually. Like, there was a moment towards the end of that fight where Ryan's showboat come back and Derek James puts him in the corner and just fucking...
He gives him a bollock.
Yeah, and I thought, that's good management. I love that. Put him right in the frame of mind that he should have been. And I think that there's some improvements, but you're right. Like,
so that's brilliant on fight night. That's brilliant to have that on fight night. But the proof will be, what can Derek James do now? Can he get Ryan Garcia, not on podcasts, which obviously we love to watch, can he get him back in the gym the next week? Can he get him focused? Can he get him motivated without an opponent in mind? And we get on to who we'd like to see him in there with. But the key now for Ryan Garcia, because what we're saying there, right, in terms of how far can he go? 100% Ryan Garcia, I don't know where he can go, even a 90%. What we saw in there the other night was a 60% Ryan Garcia, in my opinion. I don't believe that was more than a 60% Ryan Garcia.
Fuck me.
What percentage of Devin Haney was it? We don't know. Like, every fighter gets in the ring with injuries, with problems, and we've got the weight that was obviously a factor there. But I think if you can get a 90% Ryan Garcia, 100% Ryan Garcia, I'd put him in there with any of them. But the reason I'm reluctant to do that is even off the back of that, even off the back of the people that will be in my comment section now saying, you've not realised he fooled you the whole time, he was fine. He wasn't. He wasn't. And I think you're completely right there when you say about his defence on the night, needing to take those breaks, you know. It's not like Ryan...
So many rounds off.
He did. There was a point, and I was watching it back last night, right? I think at one point, until Ryan Garcia takes over in their mid to later rounds, I think at one point I had Devin Haney winning every round but the first, up until the round that Garcia...
I think it would have been round... I think round 6 was when he turned it. So round 5 was good for Haney, and round 6 he's like, nah, fuck this.
And at that point, I think I had it 4-1 Haney.
Yeah, I think that was right.
If these two are to rematch again, like, despite we're all riding the Ryan Garcia wave at the minute, I think there's every chance Devin Haney wins against him. I know you're more leaning towards Ryan Garcia now, aren't you?
It's not that I mean, Ryan Garcia will lose rounds to Devin Haney every time they fight because I don't have faith in the gas tank. But my worry is he'll get even lazier because now he's like, I got away with it, bitch. Like, so, but I just think I think Devin's chin can't take Ryan's punches, but the worry is if you put him in there with someone who will take a little bit more to get them going, which, to be fair to Ryan, most people he does fucking knock flat out. And they've got the gas tank to push him more. So, for example, in those rounds that he's taken there off, now we know that he does that. Like, I watched Usyk. I was watching like Usyk versus AJ the other night. Right, they're heavyweight. The pace they put on each other in that first fight, Ryan Garcia couldn't do that, and he's fucking half their size. So that's how bad his stamina is right now. He does need a lot of work. And if someone recognises, he's taking a break now, and has the balls to increase the temperature under him, he's going to be found out if he's not careful.
That's the key thing there, having the balls to increase that pressure that they're putting him under, because in doing that, you've got to walk into the fire. And then it comes down to, do you back your ability to walk into that fire and not be burnt so much that you can't do your good work? And I don't think Devin Haney did back his ability to be able to do that. I know myself, I can think back to a fight I had with an amateur guy now who was definitely fitter than me, but he knew that when we traded and when I landed, I had way more power than him. So then he was reluctant, and then my fitness wasn't pushed as much as it could have been against someone that could have took the shots and then pushed me from a stamina point of view. So I think maybe not in Devin Haney we might not see that, but in other fighters we definitely would.
We've seen a call out from a UK fighter, Conor Ben. Has gone back and forth with him already. Conor goes back and forth with a lot of people. There was the Tank thing. I'll be honest, I think Tank bottled it. I think Tank bottled the fight with. He got offered a lot of money, and Tank, while I think he's a great fighter, he's very skilled, everything has to be on his terms, and I'm tired of that pussy shit in boxing. Like, I'm so frustrated, because if that's the way you're going to be, don't talk about it then. Don't engage with Conor Ben and get people thinking this is going to happen. Just say, you're not in my weight class, end of story. So I think Conor and Ryan could fight. What do you make of that?
I'd love to see it. I'd absolutely love to see Conor Ben against Ryan Garcia, man. I think that Ryan Garcia is in a little bit of a tricky situation in terms of, and we spoke about this with weight divisions before, right? Ryan Garcia could easily box at 10 stone, 140 pounds, that's fine for him, you know, and you look at him against the likes of a Teofimo Lopez, a Josh Taylor, there's loads of guys in there I'd love to see him in with.
So he's going to 147.
147 is a bit too big, I think, for Ryan Garcia. I mean, when you look at, I'm thinking back to, I know he's a huge 147, but I told you loads of times now, I used to box in the same gym as Josh Kelly. The size of him compared to Ryan Garcia is like quite vast, and he used to make 147. Now, he was spoke about with fighting Conor Ben. I think that Conor Ben's size difference between Ryan Garcia, maybe in height's not that much, but if you look at the two guys back, you know, I just think that Conor Ben is going to have that size advantage on Ryan Garcia.
You know what I worry about? In that last Conor Ben fight, the other dude was catching him and timing him, and I bet Ryan hits harder than the other dude. And I'd just be interested because Conor, when he
Dobson, that was his name. I think.
Conor dominated this guy, right? It was good to watch. It was a real all-round, well-rounded performance. He got a lot of criticism because he didn't knock him out. But that being said, I thought it was a good performance. But he was getting caught every now and then, and he did look a bit fucking. That hurt. Do you know what I mean? Ryan Garcia can shut your lights off if you give him that many opportunities. And in that fight, I remember thinking, you don't look that quick. Like, he's explosive, Conor, but I just feel like speed kills, and that would be a really dangerous fight for both men. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think Conor's got a lot of tools to bring the war to Ryan and say, because Conor doesn't stop. He's not going to let you take rounds off. And if you're trying to take multiple rounds off against Conor Benn, it's going to be a problem. But I just also think that the speed of Ryan's a major problem as well.
Yeah, stylistically. Listen, I mean, funny, we were talking about Peter Dobson there. I shared a coach journey in Nashville with Dobson's coach, and he did the corner for Dobson on the night against Conor Benn, and he was saying to me, he was like, mate, Conor Benn's so beatable. He was like, we've sparred in and out all the gyms of a lot of the world level guys, even like, you know, they don't call it European over there because it's in the States, but those sort of fringe guys. And he said, honestly, mate, he said, Conor Benn's the easiest to hit out of anyone we've ever...
I felt that watching the fight, he did feel easier to hit than I remembered. You know how he had this big break? I remember thinking, fuck me, you're getting tagged. And me and you mentioned afterwards, we were like, if a real hitter can catch Ben, like he's getting caught by Dodson, so worry that.
I do think, though, there's also the stronger possibility for how to beat Conor Benn, I actually think, is outboxing him rather than thinking, he's easy to be hit, because then, again, you have to commit. So I think that this might sound really weird off the back of that fight. I actually think that possibly a Devin Haney has a better chance at beating a Conor Benn than a Ryan Garcia.
You know, the one thing I'm just thinking, though, I like Conor's body shots, and I know Ryan doesn't like body shots, so that might be an answer for him as well.
It would be a fascinating one. I think the build-up would be fireworks. I think that would be absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, that's that right there. Those two would fucking hate each other by the time they got in the ring.
And that's what I want to see with Conor Benn. Like, I want to see someone that will push his buttons in the build-up. So far, and we've looked at Conor Benn's career so far, like, Conor Benn always seems to somehow find a lot of hatred for his opponents that he's fighting. And a lot of the time, they're not even... Half the time, they don't even speak English, and Conor Benn seems to, like... But at the same time as that, we haven't really seen him with a proper dance partner. Obviously, the dad's rivalry sold the Eubank Jr. fight, but one of the things that did sell it is contrasting styles, people that could go back and forth. And Conor Benn and Ryan Garcia, blockbuster, massive fight. If not that, I'd love to see Ryan Garcia in with the Lomachenko against Kambosos winner. I think that would be an interesting one.
Yeah.
The Devin Haney rematch, I'm telling you now, with a different referee, is a completely different fight. You know what I would like to see? But I just think because of the way it ended, the appetite's probably not going to be there. If I'm Tank, I think you should do the right thing. And I doubt this is going to make him want to do it. Fight him without fucking draining him.
Yeah.
I still think it could probably end the same, you know.
I'm not disputing it.
Off the back of that and going, well, Ryan Garcia beats Tank. No, he probably doesn't. But I would like to see.
Do you know the reality,
though?
That. Ryan Garcia would be over a stone heavier this time. If they did it at the right way, and Ryan makes 144 and he gets to go back up to 160... His ability to take the punishment from Tank is different. Now he's fought him before. He clearly learned a bit from that last fight as well. I thought he brought a few little skills into the next fight. And I agree. I think Tank's a hard match for him. Always, because he's so clever, hits hard. But I would love to see that.
I don't think the mental warfare would work anywhere near as well against Tank as it did against Devin Haney. Devin Haney is that... clean cut, you know, or that's how it seems to me. A bit more of a clean cut, bit more of a, I don't want to call him a robot, but you know what I mean by that.
Boring.
And with these robot types, it's easy to get them to malfunction. Whereas with a Tank Davis, I don't think that option's maybe there as much. But they're the ones that I would like to see Ryan Garcia.
Teofimo would be good.
Teofimo would be brilliant. That'd be a top pick. I'll tell you one thing though, and I was thinking this last night, and this does say it all to me. I'm always like trying to push myself against just going with the narrative, because the public perception on things, a fighter wins, he's fucking brilliant. He loses, he was always shit. You know what I mean? And that's what I don't like to do.
You've seen the Pain game.
Yeah. Boxing tells me not to do that, right?
Yeah.
But I was thinking about it last night, and someone had written somewhere online last night, is Ryan Garcia now the face of boxing? And my initial thing, right, my initial reaction to that was, oh, fuck off, like face of boxing. But let me think about it this way, and this is what I was doing last night. Ryan Garcia, if he fights Teofimo Lopez, call it next. Even if he fights Haney again, whoever he fights, right? Am I more interested to see that than I am to see Canelo against Munguia? I am, yeah. Am I more interested to see Ryan Garcia's next fight than I am to see Crawford against Madrimov? I am. Am I more interested to see Ryan Garcia's next fight than I am to see Inoue's next fight? I am. So maybe obviously Usyk Fury tops it a little bit for me, but other than that, there's no one, pound for pound list, there's no one who I'm more interested to see their next fight. That's what it comes down to, really, doesn't it?
That's why I compared him to Conor McGregor in my video, because it's like he's the total package in terms of unpredictability, very funny and entertaining, super famous now. He's everywhere. Everyone's talking about him. He's the future of boxing. Like, Tank is never going to be that guy. Tank is not a charismatic salesman of a fighter, and he doesn't want to take the risks to actually make the fights that would make him that star. He's too careful, and his Tank is going to be a distant memory in the history of boxing. Everyone who loves Tank, I've got no problem with that. I love watching him fight too. But the reality is he's not willing to take there's a whole reason, they call them the four kings, the young lads. Yep. Teofimo, Garcia, Haney, Tank. Everyone's talking about who's going to come out the best out of that. Ryan Garcia will. And I don't mean in terms of he's going to win more or whatever. He'll fight every one of them. And Kambosos and any of the others. These other guys are far too scared to do the things Ryan Garcia will do. It's not a shock that he fought Haney before any other big fighters, that he fought Tank before anyone else does. And that's what that attitude, this is why people like Nate Diaz in MMA became the stars that they did. It's not because Nate Diaz is a great fighter even. He's not. He's fucking not. He's got an average record. But he was willing to get in there with anyone and make a scrap out of it. And I definitely think he's the face of boxing now. There's no one who, like, Canelo's had his day. No one gives a fuck anymore. We can say, like, I don't mean that in a nasty way, but I'm not excited for his next fight. I'm like, yeah, watch it, but whatever. I'm not like, I have to wake up to... I don't really wake up to watch many fights. No. But I woke up for this, and now I'll definitely wake up for the next one, because I'm like, this motherfucker can do anything. You just don't know.
I think you've changed my mind a little bit there. I think Teofimo is the one I want to see the most next. I've been leaning towards maybe the Haney rematch, and sometimes I don't really like rematches, because if I've seen something go one way, I'm like, okay, I know how that one plays out potentially. I get there can be adjustments, but because a career is so short, let me see you in with the other guys first before we do that again.
If you're managing Devin, though, say you're Bill Haney and you're done arguing with Floyd on the FaceTime. Floyd loved that, by the way. I don't know if you're saying that Floyd couldn't wait to gloat that Devin had lost, because he was like, Floyd's very aware of all these young cats, and he still wants to have his place on Mount Rushmore. But yeah, for me, if I'm Bill Haney, the last thing I would do is put him straight back in there immediately with Ryan. And that's not because I don't think Devin's capable of getting better and all of that. Like, it's because I think he needs to take a bit of time to feel like a different fighter. If you put him in there too quickly, mentally, he's not going to believe the result is going to be different because I've become a different guy. And I feel like that was the mistake AJ made with Usyk. I feel like, looking back, if AJ had gone away, he's gone away recently, AJ, and he's had all these fights, and now everyone, me included, feel like, oh, you're a different fighter now. You've really changed and learned. If the Usyk rematch hadn't happened, and now we were ready to make the Usyk rematch, everyone's feeling, including the fighter, would be different. But because he jumped straight back in there, it just felt too much the same, too quick, too soon.
Look at the Klitschko losses. Yeah. Not Anthony Joshua's loss to him. When either of the Klitschkos, Vitaly and Vladimir, when they would lose their fights, you'd see them rematch those guys, but it wouldn't always be next. They would have a rebuilding process. So I can see where you're going with that. And if that was what Bill Haney was thinking, and would maybe like to see...
I think they want the rematch now, immediately.
Yeah. Listen, I don't think the pressure's there to do the rematch immediately, and they got to thank Ryan Garcia for this. Why? Because Devin Haney's still WBC champion. Yeah. Devin Haney's still the world champion because the belt didn't get stripped. So what do you make of that?
What do you make of the impact? Because you mentioned something before we came on here about, was that kind of good in a way for Ryan? Because now the responsibility...
For Ryan Garcia, it's perfect, because I think that now we're seeing, especially like with the Saudis in boxing, you're seeing that the governing bodies, sometimes, as brilliant as it is, and definitely for fighters that can't become standalone pay-per-view stars, they do need those governing bodies. If, let's say, for example, even a Nue, you know, even as impressive as his performances are, if he didn't have belts, people probably wouldn't even know him, you know?
Ryan's in that unique...
He don't need a belt.
No, he's Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. No one gives a fuck Conor McGregor's not fighting for a belt. Like, no one cares if The Rock is the WWE champion. You get to a point where you're becoming bigger than the WBC, bigger than what that means anymore. People just want to watch you fight for you. And that is, he's in that unique... Do you know what that'll mean now? We have all this talk about weights. People are going to dance to Ryan's tune now because he's the kingmaker now. So that I think that he'll get what he wants.
He'll have a Netflix show on him next. He
Guaranteed.
will have brand deals coming out his ears as if he doesn't already. It's bigger and better things now for Ryan Garcia. So very, very interested to see what happens. But I'm also very interested for you lot to let me know in the comment section below, what is the ideal fight, or what is the fight that you want to see Ryan Garcia in next? I will see you all in the next one.